David, I'm going to finish this off probably with the topic you've covered about 87 times because you probably talked to me about it like 3 times during the offseason. But it's just this overarching theme about Florida football this year that actually people are making fun of. Oh, Florida's got to run this gauntlet. There's no way they're going to make it. Billy Napier's going to get fired. They're going to win 5 games. The Vegas over under, I think, is 4.5.
Yep.
Good Lord. This team is too good for that. But you got to. I don't know how you play that because I know you love tough schedules and you don't like the cakewalk games. But man, part of you's got to feel like envious of Miami. They're going to walk away from that game, and this may sound ridiculous, but if Florida State falters a little bit, Florida may turn out to be the best team that they play all year, and they're about the 8th best team maybe that Florida plays. It just seems like, man, so much is going against this program from that perspective of this ridiculous schedule that they have to play. The last time Florida's had a big season, of course, was 2020. So you've been waiting. This is a proud program and you love your football and you got to wait all off season just to see a football game. And you haven't seen a good football season since 2020. And this is, a time when people are already writing you off. Just the enthusiasm level or the try to conjure up enthusiasm level if you're a Florida fan with what seems to be a difficult season that's facing this team.
Yeah, Mark. I mean, the schedule's been talked about, like crazy, and we got 3 weeks, before it kicks off. And as you said, I'm a big fan of a tough schedule, and this might be overdoing it a bit, but at the same time, I think if this thing is headed in the right direction, Mark, 7-8 wins is certainly attainable if it's headed in the right direction. I think there's enough talent for 7-8 wins. Now it's up to the coaching staff to get those 7-8 wins, and 7 wins might. I can see either way. I can see some of the fan base still being in limbo for 7 wins, and I can see where you can sell 7 wins because of this schedule. I think 8 wins, 8-4 with this schedule, you can point to. Look, you got one cupcake, and that's Samford. So that means out of the schedule, just go look at it. That means 7 of those 8 wins would be pretty good wins. Mississippi State is your next worst team after that. Everybody else is going to be fighting for bowl contention on that schedule. So there'll be, 6 pretty good wins if you get to 8 wins somehow with this schedule and this year for Billy Napier. So 8 wins, I think you can feel better about. And maybe in what you feel good about moving forward with DJ Lagway at quarterback in the 2025 season where the schedule is pretty much the same next year, but I think it does ease up with some of the teams and the quarterbacks they lose this year and it being the same teams, but so much changing with those teams. So I think, 8 wins is probably that mark, that win mark where the fan base starts to feel better. But Mark, I mean, look at it. If you gave Florida Missouri schedule, they're a conference team. They're in the SEC. They're a top 10-ish, 12-ish team. If I'm a Missouri fan and I look at that schedule, if I'm not in the college football playoff, I'm pretty disappointed as a fan. I mean, Alabama thinks their toughest schedule or their toughest team on the schedule. If Florida had that schedule, I think the over-under win total would probably be 6.5. I think it's worth 2 wins, maybe even 3 at 7.5, because that is a cakewalk of a SEC schedule. So schedule inequality is still factoring in here. But, Mark, I do stand by. If this thing is headed in the right direction, schedule be damned, we should see wins mount up.
Texas's SEC opponents went 19-37 last year in the SEC. I was running those numbers because I was doing the obvious Oklahoma-Texas comparison where they don't have the schedule Florida does, but they've got a tough schedule. I just don't agree with coming out with these schedules that are so completely different in the same conference. I tell you, David, if this team is 7-5 and they are not securely in the top 25, then people aren't evaluating correctly. They need to toss the record, say, this team went 7-5 against the schedule. They should be like number 18 in the country. And if they go 8-4, and I'll even give them one blowout, say they lose to Georgia 42-14, and the other 3 are close, respectable games against really good top 10 teams, this team could have an argument to go to the playoff.
I think some things would have to break. I've seen that talk before. An 8-4 Florida team making the college football playoff. I mean, I think some other things would have to break their way, but if other teams are in that, if they are grouped together in that, and Florida has one more loss than a bunch of 3-loss teams, maybe head-to-head factors in, who are those losses and all that. Certainly, I'd have a hard time defending an 8-4 team in a playoff, Mark. But at the same time, as you said, if chaos happens and there's a bunch of teams grouped together, I do think this Gator team would get the benefit of a doubt, Mark, because this schedule has been talked about by every single college football analyst out there. Everybody knows how tough it is going in. Now it would have to live up to its reputation as well, going in. But at the same time, that also means those teams are grouped together. It could be because some teams fell back to Florida. Maybe they aren't as good as we thought they would be. So it works both ways, I think. But at the same time, we'd have to see how the rest of the season played out. But it would, it would be a crazy controversy the first year of a 12-team playoff, and you get a 8-4 Florida team in.
Well, I'm rooting for you, which means, David, I'm always rooting for you.
Yeah.
Obviously, but I'm actually rooting for your football team this year because I just think the schedule is ridiculous, and I would love to see them kind of throw up a bird to the critics and say, hey, we made it through and had a really good season. That would be fun to see.
Yeah, Gator Nation too. I think most of Gator Nation wants Billy Napier to succeed. I mean, I think behind the scenes, talk about the person. Billy Napier's a great guy, great person. It's year 3. It's time to win some ball games. I think most of Gator Nation would just love for it to work out with Billy Napier and have him be here for a long time.
David Waters, Gators Breakdown. David, we always appreciate the time, sir.
Thanks, Mark.